Hi, this is my video journal on Frederick Douglass number one. How did the book hit me? I didn't really have much of a reaction to this book. Definitely not a visceral one. I think I have, over the course of my academic career, I have read works like this depicting the horrors of slavery and the mistreatment of humans that a lot of people saw justification for. What I liked about the book was understanding like where he came from and his own experience. But as far as my reaction to it, this is the same thing, a different person. Sorry to sound so vague, but it really, really is. When I first came to this country and was learning of slavery, I could say that I had a visceral reaction then when I was learning of the horrors, of slavery. Did not know what slavery was. I'm from Jamaica. And yes, we had slaves there. They sent the worst of the worst slaves, but we always rebelled. So this is not something that I grew up knowing anything about. So I can say when I first came here, when I was 10, I probably reacted to this like this is the most horrific thing I've ever heard. But from 10 to 38, I have had classes and I have seen, documentaries, I don't think that my reaction is that great anymore. I just appreciate that persons were able to put their experiences into literary works to educate the rest of us. So that's my reaction to the book. Um, Primary impression, again, the only thing that really stood out to me in the beginning, the very beginning, was when he was talking about um his mother and him were separated and that it was a common custom. It destroyed natural affection. And he didn't see her in the daytime. I didn't know that the kids were separated from their parents like that early. I believed that, okay, the kids were left with a nanny of sort, like, the slave nanny person that takes care of the children because mom and dad have to go back in the fields, or if they were in the kitchen, wherever they had to go back to do their chores. But I did not know that they lived separately. I guess where he's from, they separated the mothers and the children early. Not sold or anything. She just worked on a different farm from where her son was. And that was very bizarre to me. And he kept on saying that he never saw her in the daylight. And this was, because she had to be doing her chores in the field, but they destroyed their affection. So they didn't have that close bond. I thought that was super, super interesting. And that just goes to how they wanted to keep slaves ignorant and they wanted to keep them deprived. They didn't learn. He said he didn't know his age. He didn't know his age. He didn't know his birthday. They had no concept of, like when their birthday was. But well, the white kids, they knew exactly when their birthdays were. They could tell you like that. And he said that he didn't know when his birthday is, and he only got knowledge of how old he really was when the his master one time like mentioned it, and he was just about like 17. And I thought that was, you know, I knew they kept them from education. I knew that was to keep them in line. I know it's to keep them ignorant, but I did not know that not even the birthdays did they know. And in this his particular case, he was taken away from his mother. I thought that was very interesting. I haven't heard that. The only thing I've heard was, people being sold or children being sold in that way, that them being separated from their family, but not, it said common custom. I wrote that down, common custom, that they were separated from their mothers. That was quite eye-opening. Um, Nothing really changed. I've had knowledge of Frederick Douglass. We even covered him in the first part of this course as well. Read some of his works. So I've been um I know about him, and his legacy. So nothing really changed towards the end of the book. I was glad that he was able to escape from slavery and win his freedom. I was glad that he had the knowledge and the yearning for the knowledge, and that he became an abolitionist and he spoke out and was very vocal about it and wanted to enlighten and empower others. I was very glad that that's who he became. How many people escape from slavery and they're like, okay, I'm out. And that's it. You know, there were a select few that spoke out. There were a select few that helped other people escape. There were like a select few that petitioned the government. There were a select few, and I appreciate those select few. I appreciate him for the person that he became. I was, his hunger for learning was inspiring. His resilience was inspiring. So it's like the beginning of the book is like, oh, it's despair, and then towards the end, it's like hope. So that's my impression from the beginning to end. Your next question is, have I ever felt like a non-person? Yes, I have felt like a non-person in some of the most, what should have been some of the most wonderful time in my life. And it was, with how it ended up. I felt like a non-person on the University of Connecticut campus at Stores. I can speak for myself. I can speak for a lot of other minorities that went to that school in the early 2000s. I think I went in 2005, graduated in 2009. And it's not as diverse as people say. It isn't. And we definitely felt like we were the minority. You feel like a non-person, and this happened to me when someone says you're only here for affirmative action. And my rebuttal is, I took the same SAT test as you. I got my scores. I applied to this school. I got in. My GPA was quite high, so I think that I am here because of my academics. That's why I'm here. So you feel like a non-person when you'll be running to the bus because the campus is so large. They have their own bus line, 4 bus lines. And the bus driver keeps on driving, doesn't stop for you, but you see that he stops for a Caucasian student. So you feel like a non-person. So yes, I have felt like a non-person. What would it be like if you were consistently feeling this way? I would never want to consistently feel like a non-person. I would never consistently want to feel like I'm under someone's thumb, or I am not good enough for, what they are good enough for. So I would never want to feel like this consistently. How sad and depressing would it be for, someone to feel like this, especially if you know that there's better. And that's the crazy part, is if you know that there's better, but you're consistently depraved of that better. Like, I would never want to feel like that. I feel like that would damage self-worth. I feel like that would cause great anxiety. Imagine being in a constant anxiety. You're always anxious because you feel like a non-person. So I would never want to feel like this, and I would have to come out of it. I removed myself from UConn campus by graduating and obtaining my bachelor's degree. So, it's not a good place for people to be. Slavery was brutal. This is what this book shows. It was brutal. And it was a sad moment in time. Its effects have lasted for a very long time still because of discrimination and even things that are going on in the world today. I'm not signaling out the United States. These are things that are happening in the world today that's stemming from slavery or hatred or bigotry, or so I feel like his book was necessary, and books like these are necessary. I feel like people are supposed to be educated. They're supposed to have the knowledge of the past so that we can be better people in the future. And I think that's exactly what Frederick Douglass wanted to do. His mission is to have the knowledge and the experiences that he had in the past, and with his freedom and his knowledge and his ability to read, write, learn, create literary works, make speeches. He was a great orator. I feel like he used his experiences and he wanted to make things better. And you can applaud people like that who just want to make things better, not just for Black people, for everyone. He wanted to make things better. So yeah, that's it. Those are all my notes. I liked the reading. It's similar to things I have read before, but I do appreciate people who can definitely change from their situation and be better. Thank you. The kids are home. Good to see you.